Welcome to Extra Takes, hosted by Northland Church lead pastor Dr. Joshua Laxton. Join us each week as Pastor Josh reveals the rest of the story behind his sermons. We'll discuss how those who follow Christ can live out a biblical vision for the church in our world today.
Well, hello, Northland family and friends. Welcome to another episode of Extra Takes. I am your co-host, but I have a lot of co-hosts, and you definitely saw Matt do his little co-host wave, which is a little interesting as we are on the big stage here in our auditorium. And so you're probably thinking, especially if you're watching via video, like, why are you here? Why do you have all of these people? And I'll introduce all of these people, but actually I'll let Matt, I'll let you introduce all of these people.
Okay.
That we have in the flying V, or the introverted V. So, and if you're listening to it on just audio, you might want to just hop on over to YouTube and just check it out.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun one today. We're excited because with Extra Takes, we're not always quite sure what's going to happen. We have a plan, but with a bunch of us up here, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah. It's the marathon day, 3-hour podcast.
Is that what we're doing?
No. No, we actually have work to do.
So what's so fun about this conversation is we're going to get to hear from a lot of us about the state of Northland. So this is kind of the State of the Union. Where are we with our transition? And we thought it would be amazing to get many different voices to kind of peel the curtain back a little bit into the both the day in, day out of what's happening with the transition, but also a little bit of the bigger picture. So you will hear from all of them. I think we're going to have some good conversation and some laughs. So let me introduce everybody, and then we'll start off with the first question for Pastor Josh. So to my left, we have Pastor Derwin Anderson. Whatever you guys want to do, you can wave, you can holler. When I introduce you, do it.
Holler.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good wave.
Don't encourage him.
Yeah.
To his left, we have Chief of Staff Marie Batters.
Hello.
We have a gentleman who needs no introduction, older than Methuselah, as Pastor Josh says, Pastor Gus Davies.
Augustine, yeah.
We have Tom Horvath, and we have Lauren Travers. So we're going to hear from leaders for all of the areas of our church, all the 4 C's. But just to start it off, Pastor Josh, talk a little bit about why you wanted to have this conversation now and what you hope we get out of it.
Yeah, so, this past weekend, Vince Taylor, and one of our governing elders, he preached and did a fabulous job, and we knew it was going to be a weekend off, at least for me, and we were just thinking, okay, what do we do? And I thought it would be very helpful to bring our senior leaders within all kind of the arms of Northland and just kind of give almost like a State of the Union type of podcast, just so that we can talk through some of the positives that we've seen, some of the challenges that still exist. Because the kind of leader that I want to be is I'm always wanting to celebrate the wins, but I'm also wanting to just be honest and transparent with the challenges.
Yeah.
And I felt like having a podcast where we can talk through those would be very helpful and eye-opening for our Northland family.
Yeah. Because the reality is we've been in this transition, but we're not done. You say we're about halfway through the transition, so.
Lord, I hope so. Yes.
So.
Well, it's funny because I was just actually looking at articles before we came here to shoot the podcast, just about turnarounds and challenges. And so I really want people to wrestle with this. And I'm not saying it to demean the past, I'm just trying to, when I share about where the church has been, I'm just trying to be just realistic. And so, there's been a lot of transition that has happened in Northland really since 2009. And so in 2009, that's when Northland hit its peak. I mean, over 10,000 people in person on average Now, that doesn't include Easter and Christmas, because yes, when you look at Easter and Christmas, even in those days, I mean, they're pushing somewhere, around 18, 19, 20,000 people. Well, but from 2009 to 2017, you can actually see a significant decline from 10,000 down to about 2,600 on average. So think about it. So averaging 10,000 a week in 2009, and over the period between 2009 and 2017, you're talking about averaging 2,700. That is a significant decline. And then from 2017, when Pastor Joel steps down, there's this vacuum of leadership. Okay, who is Northland now? So when someone is pastor for 32 years, that is a significant tenure. And so when that person is gone, okay, well, who's going to assume the mantle? Where are we going? And so there's a lot of unknowns. And then, you get into Matt Hurd, and, he comes on, and he's basically contract, more of a transitional pastor, not even though he was called the lead pastor. And then in 2020, there's not a renewal of his contract. And then COVID hits. And so in 2022, when I get here, again, you have about 650 people, kind of give or take on a weekend. It doesn't include online. And just so again, from 2009 to 2022, Northland has been in some kind of transition and decline. I mean, now think, over 10,000 people down to 650 people in person. I mean, that is, and then for Northland to be able to just continue to exist, and that's where I'm saying it's only by the grace of God that has happened. And now in 2 years, and this is why I want to always be clear, like, it's not about me. So when people are like, oh, you saved Northland, I didn't save. No, it wasn't me. It was the Lord. Now, does he use leaders? He does. And that's why I wanted to show how he's using all of us in this turnaround. Right. And so, but if you could just say, and I share those big high numbers so that, so for you all who's listening and engaging, you can in some sense read between the lines of all of the challenges that a church would face. And that's why I've even shared that our building is like somebody who used to weigh 400, pounds. Now they're weighing 200, but wearing the same clothes. I mean, it is just significant. And so, I'm saying that not to push, kind of point blame. I'm just sharing that because those are just the simple high-level facts. Yeah. And then when you peel back some layers, and then that even adds some adaptive challenges to how do you lead through, in some sense, all of the complexity of that transition. But this is why, like, I really am looking forward to the conversation so that you can hear from the staff that many of them, like Gus and Tom and Lauren, they've been here for a long time. Even Matt, I mean, you've been here for a significant amount of time. Now, Marie, you've been here since 2019. Yep. Yeah. So you get to hear from all different kind of perspectives of just the grace of God in our midst, but also how we're asking for the wisdom of God to continue to navigate the challenges.
Great. Yeah, there's a great high-level overview and just the reality of where we've been. It certainly affects where we're going. It informs where we're going. It gives us a deeper appreciation for who God is and what He's done, and just the miracles of us still being here. So let me throw a question to Pastor Derwin, and then we'll kind of go down the line. And for each of these questions, we hope to hear a little bit more about the ins and outs of different areas. And then towards the end, if we have some time, I'll throw out some additional, maybe a question or two to get some other thoughts. So Pastor Derwin, talk a little bit about the progress with Above and Beyond. And we're also going through our budget season right now. So just give us kind of an update on where we are with finances.
Sure. So for those of you who don't know what Above and Beyond is, and we still may have some folks that are clueless to that, Above and Beyond was a campaign that we did above and beyond regular tithes and offerings. And specifically, those funds were going to capital improvements to Mercy Road, which is the conglomerate I guess you could say, nonprofit for our non-traditional ministries, and also to benevolence. So as of 521, and these numbers are as of 521, we are at 67% of the $675,000 goal. Now, we had a higher goal, and we adjusted that when we saw that we needed to change some things, and we moved some of the capital improvements to the next fiscal year. So that's where we are with that. Now, tithes and offerings, we have a very generous church, and we're at 93% of the $6.2 million that we've collected so far. So we still have that the month of June, and also this past weekend that's not part of these figures. And so the month of June we have to get to the 6.2 million. But what's a blessing, because it's like anything else, you know, if you think about your home finances, if something happens or if something doesn't happen, you expected these funds to come in and they didn't come in, you have to make adjustments. So all year long we've been making adjustments, and our spending is down. I'm going to say the whole number, $1,440,000, which is great, but it's down because we realize we may not hit what we set out to hit. And you say, is that okay? It's okay. Of course, you would love to hit the number that you set to hit, but if you don't, you have to adjust. And so we've adjusted, and so now we have those dollars there to hopefully take into the next fiscal year, barring that nothing takes place.
So a couple points of clarification, though. So we had a budget of $7.5 million, but we have taken in so far 6.2.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So because it almost sounded like you said we had a $6.2 million.
No. I'm sorry.
We've taken in $6.2 million so far.
Yes.
We still have the month of June to,
correct,
in some sense, see if we cannot hit that $7.5 million. But we have adjusted based upon our actual, what tithes have come in.
That's right.
We've adjusted where we will definitely come in under whatever the actual budget is.
And what we don't want is for people to say, oh, you have that money now because you were under, so I don't need to give. No, that's not how that works. We want you to continue to give and need you to continue to give, because your giving helps to fuel the ministry that we're able to do. And so, there are a couple big projects that we still want to finish before the end of the fiscal year, which ends on June 30th. So those funds will be available to do those things.
And when's the next Above and Beyond
weekend?
Do you know?
I cannot remember off the top of my head.
It's coming up.
It's coming up. I think it might be the second to last weekend of June, I believe. But we'll get you those dates for sure.
That would be, I believe, the 22nd and 23rd.
Yes, I think that's the date. Yes.
Okay.
I'll look it up as we're talking.
So something else that I think is important for the budget that we've talked about is, Northland has a history, and this is continued. We are exceedingly generous when it comes to per capita giving. So can you talk a little bit about that, either Pastor Josh or Pastor Derwin, of what some of the numbers are of per capita? And then I would say also balance that with, although that is a reality, the need is still great. So there's a...
Yeah, so I'll hit a point of clarity. I mean, can you say generous? I mean, I think you could. I mean, theoretically, you could say that, but I think it just shows you the capacity that some people have at Northland.
Okay.
So it doesn't necessarily speak to the generosity of Northland in its entirety. It actually speaks to some, let's just put it this way, individuals or families' capacity to give large amounts.
Sure.
So in some sense, yes, when you look at Northland, we have a very high capacity to give per capita of adult attenders. So let me kind of break that down. So the way the way in some sense church experts will do, they'll take your average adult attendance per week, and they'll figure out what your actual budget, what your actual bring-in budget is. And they'll use what your actual, budget is, and they'll break it down to what your per capita adult attender is. So the average per capita adult attender gives somewhere between $42 and $60, actually $45 to $62 per week, okay? what Northland is right now, and we did the numbers today. If we're averaging 1,500 adults, we're right at 90. Now that number has gone down some. It was like 102. Yeah. Now it's gone down to 90, but that's still significantly higher than the average healthy fiscal. So, and I'm not, I would have to use my calculator. So, but here's what I would say is if you took the 1,500, average adult attendance we had, and you did just the, $62, I think you're somewhere at a $4.8 million budget. If we had a $4.8 million budget, we could not survive. We would actually need to be selling stuff. Like I want that to sit in. If we gave at the highest level of the median of what the median average is in a healthy financial church, we would actually have to be selling things. I mean, because right now, we're able to carry, a $7.2 million budget of actual. I mean, but yeah. So that's just the stark reality.
Yeah.
So does that mean we need more people to get on board and start?
Yeah,
giving?
we So this is where and here's and this is where I'll just be honest, as a pastor, here's where the rub is. But I know that God is faithful, and I know that if you're willing to put God to the test in your giving, because here, like, inflation is up.
Yep.
We were on my wife was on the phone with the insurance company today because we just added a car, and I almost choked. I mean, choked with four, and I'm like, how do I need to, I'm feeling it. And I'm like, so you got, man, but that's just insurance. Mm-hmm. And then, you got groceries, they're up, houses. Just the cost. Like, you can't even go out to eat for a family of 5 without, listen, we went to just some random place, and it's like $120. And I'm like, I don't think the food's worth the $120. So all of that to say, I get how tight things are. Yeah. But here's what I know in my own life, in my own family's life, is that even though things are tight, we're not going to take away from the Lord and giving to the mission, because we actually do believe. Yeah. Let's cut somewhere else. Yeah. We're not going to cut away from the Lord. And so here's my challenge: is I'm not asking you to do without food, not asking you to do without the basic necessities, and even in many times our basic wants as Americans. I'm not but I want to challenge us to give to the Lord. So if you've never given, would you just start out with giving $100, or maybe you can't give $100, maybe 25, Start somewhere and move, because I understand it is so scary to go, man, I've never given anything, or we've been at this level, and so yes, I do believe that God honors generous giving. Mm-hmm. I think most of the time, our giving in the church isn't that generous, because generous actually means sacrificial. What are you giving up?
Good clarification,
to be able to give to the Lord? And so yeah, if you can look back in a given year and say, well, I haven't really cut anything, or I haven't cut a vacation, or haven't I don't know if that's really what I would define biblically as generous giving. Yeah. Joni and I, we can look back at what we gave last fiscal year and go, that was significant. We actually did without some things. Yeah. Now, but then we also got some things too, sure, that we didn't need. Yeah. So that's where I'm like, it's not one or the other, but it is significant.
Yeah, I really think that's an important clarification, that generosity is tied with sacrifice. Yeah. Yep. It's helpful. It's good. All right, so good, real, authentic conversation around both the blessing and reality of where we are. I think what you'll see, hopefully, from this topic and all the others, I think it'll help you pray differently for a church, for our body, corporately, specifically, individually. I think you'll be maybe encouraged and also challenged. But yeah, how might this cause you to pray differently for us?
Let me just give you some big numbers. I know we got a lot of, but for me, this is so just facilities. Yeah. Just facilities. Okay. So just our payroll to care for our facilities. That's housekeeping, maintenance, security, IT. And some people say, well, why do you need security? Well, we got 2 schools that meet on our property throughout the week. I mean, so, and then we have people on our property throughout the week, even at night. We have security that's present when we have our students that meet. I mean, so like, okay, so but when you look at just our payroll, that's $870,000 just for payroll in that area. When you look at our power, when you look at just the average, and again, I'm just giving you the average, that's about $400,000 a year just for our power, paying our power bill. When you look at our capital expenses, again, this is just like we need to replace this, like the HVAC unit. We need to replace the HVAC unit, or you might actually feel like you're in Hades. Just one. Just one.
Many.
But just one HVAC unit though cost over $100,000. But when you look at our capital expenses, $440,000. And then we just got we're shopping around insurance, but just to cover like hurricane, tornado, big, huge storm, like wind insurance, $300,000. So when you add all of that up, and I mean, again, that's a significant portion. And again, that's not in another thing. So that's just power bill, insurance. That doesn't include so that's where I want people to realize, like, man, like this is definitely things that we pray about.
Amen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen.
So let's move on to Marie. Marie, I'd love for you to give us an update on staff health and just kind of progress of where we are with the staff.
Yes, absolutely. I always like whenever I get this question, I always go back to our staff survey. Like Pastor Josh mentioned, I've only been on staff for about 5 years, but I know that there's been a lot of history over the last 10 years at Northland, and a lot of change and a lot of transition. And with change, people are resistant, and it's always a struggle. But our staff survey, we started that in 2019. That was before I had joined on, and we have done that every year. We check in with the employees, and we do a touch point, really to gauge and to find out, okay, where are the staff? Are they on board? Are they off board? And the last 3 years since 2019, we have been in a decline. It's not only been financially, our staff was kind of lost. We didn't have strong leadership that was guiding the boat in one direction. And in 2022, it wasn't just you, but you coming in as that leader to guide the ship. We started to see the needle turn the other direction. And this year, in 2023, this past year, I was really it was really exciting, and the senior team was super excited too. We hit flourishing status. Our team was officially, finally at a point where we were all on board. We were on the same mission. We had a direction. We may not be able to see every step along the way, but that's where faith comes in, and we trust the process. But now, that's great news. It's amazing. And when I was sharing it with the staff, I was like, we should be proud of it. We are all on the same direction. Man, I got a little twang there.
A little twang? I speak with the twang all the time.
Mine just slipped up. But we for the first time in a long time, we were all in the same boat, going in the same direction. But I always kind of caution that as well, because yes, we've turned the boat, but we still now got to row, and we've almost got to row a little bit harder. It's, we're in this unique stage where we've had some historical processes and procedures, but there's this new direction and new avenue that we're heading into. So we've got to tweak those processes, and we've got to create new ones, and just we're faced with new challenges as well. So it's been really great to see the staff kind of coming on board. And then we've also been focusing on putting the right people in the right place. For many years, we had a lot of gaps, and so there were many people just kind of, plugging up multiple holes. But we've really been focusing on, okay, what are your skills? What are your strong sets? What are your God-given talents? And let's put those to use and shift things around as needed and bring the right team on board. That really makes a difference internally. And some of the big things that I share with the staff, the top, because I always share with the team, what were our top improvements, and we actually improved in every category that the survey touches on. But the biggest one that we saw was, inspirational leadership and a sustainable strategy. And that truly is the direction that we're going in. So we all know what direction we're going in. And then we're building on our communication. That was another thing that improved, is just really sharing from the top all the way down. What's our mission? What's our vision? Where are we going, and how are we going to get there? And then fantastic teams. That was another one where we're all working together and we're going on that mission together. So it's been really great to see. Because I came in during a rough season, but Pastor Gus, we pushed through it together. But and with the rest of the team too. But it was just it's great to see that the tide turning. But we just have to be mindful that we don't just sit there, we moved the train, but we got to keep pushing. And so, there's still some more work. But like you said, a transition I'm sure you said this before, it takes 3 to 5 years. I've been through transitions with many agencies. It's not going to happen overnight. And many times it's easy to kind of get settled into your sweet spot. I'm going in the right direction, but no, that's when you got to push a little bit harder.
That's right.
And the Spirit's really been working through the team, and just we're really keeping each other balanced a lot more than we have in the past.
So this survey is done through Better Christian.
Yeah, Best Christian Workplace Institute, yes.
Best Christian Workplace Institute, and they work with churches and
all across the United States.
All across.
Yeah. They work with churches, they work with Christian-led organizations all across the United States, and they work with them with really trying to build a culture where the staff can flourish and they can work together, because ministry is not easy. Ministry is, I've worked in secular, I've worked in nonprofit, and now ministry is a whole different environment as well. You're taking people that are giving, it's life-giving work. They're pouring their blood, sweat, and tears into this mission. And so the emotions run even higher. And so it's finding that balance of walking through the difficult times, but yet still serving everybody around you is really important. And the staff have to feel that love too. In order for them to pour into the congregation, they've got to be in a good space. And so for the first time in a long time, I feel like that's from a song. For the first time in forever. That's what it is. We're going to get some music here today. But, I just really feel like it's so much better to be able to serve others genuinely when you're feeling that love in your heart. So,
yeah, it's incredible that this survey continued, because it could have been easy just to pull the plug.
Yeah.
Because those survey results were not good.
No.
For a couple years.
Yeah.
So to see the results this year, I showed Kaylee, my wife, I go, this right here explains how I've been feeling in a chart for the last several years, in the progress and the part of the transition that we're now in is made evident through, there's a lot of different things, right? But a healthier and now flourishing staff is just the result of where we are. So it's a really, really important key marker in our transition.
And let me just speak to that too, because to Marie's point that you in some sense kind of swung the pendulum from toxic to flourishing, and that's great, and we celebrated that. But you got to keep rowing.
Yeah.
But here's what I would really challenge our people listening to this is, one of the big shifts that has occurred that we need to continually to occur is the shift from paying people to do ministry to enlisting what we call towel holders to do ministry. Yeah. We actually had a staff member, that was brought on just a few months ago that left. It just crushed them. Because one of the areas of crushing was that they could not get more people to serve. And so they were always doing ministry on the weekend by themselves with a handful of towel holders, and they can never go to service. And so if that person would have just, in some sense stayed on, as opposed to listen, I'm not going to stay in it. It's wearing me, it's burning me out. But that could have affected a staff survey, where if they cannot get enough people to serve and to help them do what God's called them to do, because remember, Ephesians 4 says that he's giving apostles, prophets, evangelists, shepherds, and teachers to equip people to do the work of the ministry. So these are, in some sense, these are leaders within the church that fit various kind of leadership capacities, but their leadership is to equip people to do the work of the ministry, not to just do the work of the ministry where the people watch them, and so that is a huge shift. And so that's where I'm like, if you really want to know how you can serve even our staff, man, get plugged into. I talk about there's 3 areas of service that every single believer, every single church member should be involved in. All 3 of these areas. There's areas of necessity. So the fact that we have a regional model, meaning that we have people coming from all over the region, from Daytona Beach, all the way from Kissimmee, all the way up from DeLand to Barry and Apopka and everywhere in between. So we need people that we need a necessity of hospitality, of first impression, of greeters and ushers. We also have children's ministry, student ministry, and so that is actually areas of necessity. And that's where I always tell people, like, who says, well, I'm not called to children's ministry. I'm like, do you have children? They said, yeah. Well, then you're called to children's ministry. Congratulations. God thinks you are equipped to do children's ministry. I mean, like, come on. Like, and that's where I'm like, this is a necessity. Now, if we want a house church model and everybody, let the kids just run wild and be in the kitchen banging pots and pans while we're in there doing Bible study, then that's a model, and that's an okay model. But we have chosen this kind of model, and so that is an area of necessity. Then there's areas of nurturing, and that's just family. So like my wife, like she expects me to be nurturing. Now I have to learn, but she's way more nurturing than I am. But we also want Caleb, Ellie, and Luke to be somewhat nurturing to one another, as opposed to grabbing each other in the headlock all the time and giving them, like a whatever they give. It's just kind of like, no, we want you to be nurturing. We want you to be loving. Why? Because this is what we do as a family. Sure, yeah. So you need to love on one another. You need to be nurturing. And then areas of natural gifting. So, and that's where we do want to get better, is that we want to try to be able to find your fit in a way that naturally aligns with your giftedness. And that's why, Tom's working on some things with leaders and corporate people. And so, but I want you to know, like, we have areas of necessity that every single person ought to be involved in if you call yourself a Christian and a member at Northland. We have areas of nurturing that, hey, we want to love, and, Lauren does an incredible job and is doing an incredible job building out a care area, and then areas of natural gifting. So anyways, but you need to find your niche, and not even your niche, like niches. And here's the thing. But here's the thing: if we had, because I know that we have somewhere between 2,600 to 3,000 people kind of on our current roster. But if you all say, you know what, I can serve in this area of necessity, then you're only serving maybe once, maybe twice a month. But if only 20% of the people are filling, kind of 80% of the holes, then they feel like they have to serve every week, and then they get burnt. So it is. I will stop, but. It's my challenge.
Yeah, and I think you kind of brought up a good point too, is that there's so many different areas that people can serve in. It's not just weekend worship and with kids. I mean, I'm looking for volunteers in HR or in finance. I mean, there's so many different ministries, and that's the other thing that people, I think, forget about Northland, is we're not just a place of worship. We're serving the community, from children's to students to special needs to single moms. We've got daycare. I mean, we've just got so many different areas that we can touch and reach out to inside the church and outside in the community. And so I think there's always a place we can get you plugged in somewhere. Lauren's good about finding a spot for somebody.
and for, because I've also heard people like, well, I tried, I emailed one time. And okay, so the challenges that I just outlined a little bit earlier. Listen, part of the challenges is that we have a thin staff doing the same amount of workload. And so I would just say, I would hope and pray that you would be patient with us, and just don't do one email. I mean, you might need to send 2 or 3 emails, possibly. I would hope not, but be gracious, because that's one of the things too that I really have tried to stress with one another, is that we are doing the same amount of ministry with actually a third of the people, because I've heard about those big, huge layoffs over the last 5 to 7 years. And so, but we haven't laid off any ministry.
No. Nope. Yeah.
So we had a step up to serve a couple weeks ago. We have another one coming up June 8th and 9th. So it'll be throughout the foyer. Each of the C's will be highlighting areas for you to get involved. So if that resonates with you, which hopefully it resonates with everybody listening, and you're saying, man, this is my time, I really need to get involved, we will have many clear, specific opportunities for you to do that. So let's move on to Pastor Gus. I've been waiting for this area because this is my area, commission. So Pastor Gus, give us an update, some exciting things that are happening in commission.
Thank you, Matt. We both write the script, but I have to say it, and you can fill in the blanks.
And he'll add whatever he wants.
Yes. So we have been very clear. We're excited about commission is really what we call missions, with an S at the end of the word mission, missions. And that is the activity of the local church. What we here at Northland we do for the engagement of the mission of God. We are very clear about the mission of God. It's in our mission statement. We go to our neighbors and to the nations. And in commission, which is missions, we have three things that are very clear we're doing. What are we doing locally? What are we doing globally? And what we call saturate. I will explain that in a moment. But locally, what is happening? We really have been able to be clear in our local outreach what we do to the schools. So we are very active in Longwood Elementary and Winter Springs High School. And you, the congregation, participate in that. We go to Longwood Elementary, we do Serve Day, and those who speak Spanish, they go in there and they are able to translate for the parents of the children who are in their school. And the church has been very generous with Winter Springs Elementary. We have enough food to start the fall semester because you generously, sacrificially gave when we have the food drive. So that's happening with our schools, and we're excited about that. But also in Longwood here, we're very involved with the local government of Longwood. I have spent enough times in the outreach in the park, right there in Longwood, Riders Park, because every outreach, they invite the church, and we take our team of people. Why do we do that, whether it's the schools or the government? We want to be known that if Northland Church does not participate, the city of Longwood, Seminole County, and Florida will miss. So that's what we're doing in our local outreach. But also we're reaching out to our neighbors across the street. We have families who worship here, and some families move into the Ultra Cypress apartment. They are reaching out to each other. And this past week, they have a barbecue by the pool there. We just hang out with those people to get to know them. Some of them, we even bring their children to VBS here last year and the one coming. So that is part of the local outreach that we are clearly doing. We continue to go to the jails right here in Seminole County. We actually participate in that. That's the outreach of our church, and also the Bridges of America. Been there with the guys, they worship with us on Saturday. That's happening in our local outreach. But here's one more that we are excited about. If you have already not signed up, this weekend we're doing Serve Day. We want to have the largest number of people who come for Serve Day. That would be 300 and...
So 231's the number.
231.
In March, we had 229.
Yes.
So barely missed it.
So,
We're at about 208 right now at the time of filming, which is Tuesday.
Yeah. So we want to gather here for Saturday because our worship is our witness and the work we go out to do in the community. So those are happening in our local outreach. Global outreach, what we're doing in our local and global. Global, three areas that I really want you to be excited about what's happening. Number one is our short-term mission teams. Last year, we sent teams to Spain, to Uganda, and also to Brazil. We have done those three this year, but we've added Jamaica. They are leaving on the 1st of June. So we are not only here, each weekend you hear we are sent. We are sent local and global. So we have teams going all into these nations. So that is our short-term mission teams. We want to work more to prepare people. Why short-term mission teams? How do we equip people to do it? How do they raise money, build a team? So those are the projections we're having as a staff and you, the congregants. How do we do short-term mission teams well? Another aspect of the global that is exciting is our partners. I mean, most of us are Matt, Pastor Derwin, and Pastor Josh. we've been able to spend time with the leadership of our 3 key local partners, and that is Brazil. We've been to Brazil. We've been able to go in there and participate in their worship and also in the work they do there. We've been able to do that in Egypt, Cairo. We were able to do that. But also our partner in Uganda has been here. But we send mission teams in this area. So the leadership has had a level of connection, and we want to continue to go there, and they come here where we train our leaders. Our missionaries, we have spent a lot of time, we analyze all of our missionaries because your tithes and your offerings are what we give to these missionaries. We are continuing to be very intentional and focused that what the missionaries do out there, we mirror what we do here as the mission of God. So some of our congregants are out there at missionaries. We're spending time in nurturing them in many ways. Some have come to us this year because they receive not only money, but they want to be encouraged in what we're doing in our local missions. So local, global, and this is the third area. We call it saturate. What does that mean? That means we want the presence of the church here at Northland to be felt with those who will not come into this building. So the one you all know about, you hear every weekend, we talk about micro churches. We've been talking about Ponce Inlet, and they've been able to see, they believe the same doctrine we believe. They come under the leadership of Northland Church. We do the sacraments together. They get the preaching that is given out here, and they are also doing our 4 C's. All the 4 C's we have here, the micro church in Ponce Inlet is doing that. But also we have been challenged, from our senior pastor here, let's have some more micro churches. So you hear those that are welcome from Rochester, New York. And they are even going to be here this summer. They're coming in 2 weeks to participate in VBS because they want to learn from it, then they can take it out there. Every time they visit Florida, they come and join us and worship with us, and we do some small dinners together. That is the life of a micro church that starts with about 3 families and up to about 50 people. We have guys in Breaking Free, Georgia. They are wanting to build that. And we're also working with other people, even here at MIMS. I don't know how far that is. They are thinking about doing microchurch. They're going through our New to Northland and membership. And they've been worshiping to say, well, in the fall, we may be doing that. So that is, we want to saturate the gospel with our neighbors and nations. But the other one we're doing is our language communities. We live in Florida, so we should be able to have a Spanish congregation campus within Northland. So this year we're moving the needle. We still have a lot of pushing to do to move that needle in the area of reaching our Spanish, our Portuguese, our Arabic that are among us here. The Portuguese are really the Brazilians. They make it clear that they're Brazilians. Call them Portuguese.
There is a difference.
Yeah, there's a difference. So the Brazilians, and now they're starting a life group. All of these areas, we encourage them to start with a life group. You build a structure, you trust the process, and we can start moving. The Arabic group that has scattered, they are now coming back. They also want to start with a life group. So we see those areas, the local, the global, and the saturate, and also the other language that is up on stage here every weekend. We don't want to miss it, right there. And that is the hard of hearing, the deaf community. That's another one we have a challenge to be able to build. So in all of these areas, local, global, and the saturate, we want you to be part of being sent, that you can go with to the neighbors and nations. Matt, I think I got all the 3 areas we talked about. Yes.
Got it. I had it in my head, and you checked them all off. So great job. Good
Teamwork.
summary. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
What
good
can you
summary.
add to that?
Nothing.
Complete.
I'm sure I can add a lot, but nothing.
Yeah, we practice.
Yes, comprehensive. Thank you. So, Tom, let's talk about Cultivate.
Cultivate.
Can you share a little bit about what's been going on? What are some exciting things that you want to share in that area?
Well, thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
Gracias. Thank you. I'm multilingual. That's about as far as I go.
That's as far as you go. Okay.
Yeah, Cultivate is our strategy with God's help where we grow disciples and leaders. The most aware group you probably, and we've mentioned it here, is our Next Gen, which we call Cradle to Career. And summer means camp. So in about 2 weeks, we've got a whole bunch of middle schoolers piling on the bus to go away for a week of camp. A week or two after that, we will have our kids camp, where the Rochester Microchurch will be down helping us lead some worship, which is absolutely awesome. That'll be on campus here. And then in July, the high schoolers get on the bus and they head off to camp. So tremendous growth. It's been less than a year that I have been blessed with the two Dans, Pastor Dan Young, Pastor Dan Elkins. We have seen kids come to Christ, to know him as their Lord and Savior, be baptized like we haven't. So it's an exciting time in our Next Gen ministries. Also, part of Next Gen is our Access Ministries, our ministry to our kids with special needs and their families. And we are in the process, in fact, this very week of expanding the spaces in which we are serving those folks, and just tremendous growth happening there, and increased communication. It's just a special area of our church, and we just want to come alongside those kids and particularly their families. So in the Next Gen area, obviously towel holders, the summertime, a lot of our faithful towel holders like to take vacations and things like that. So we would love, and even if you could just help us out for 1 week, that would be great. After you get a flavor for working with our kids and our students, you're going to come back. I'll just tell you, because God.
So that 1 week will be the hook.
So, exactly. I wouldn't say hook, but yeah, the Lord will draw you. The Lord will draw you.
Make it spiritual. Make it spiritual.
And, some people might say, well, does that mean I have to teach a class, or I have to? No, maybe if that's your gifting. It could be just a smiling face to check in. It could be over in student ministries, flipping burgers. That's what I'm going to do tomorrow night, burgers and hot dogs on the grill and stuff like that. So we can use you. We can use anyone within our Next Gen ministry. So we're excited about that. Life groups, where our adults meet in smaller groups. Over the summer, we'll have a couple of groups over the summer that kind of take a break, but we'll have over 50 groups that are meeting over the summer, which is exciting, even more starting up in the fall. One very interesting exciting area is this fall we'll be relaunching Marriage Prep and Marriage 911, and we'll be doing that in a discipleship model, not a classroom model. Okay. So really excited about that, because that's also part of how we grow disciples in our church here. And then finally, leadership, August 8th and 9th will be a host site for the Global Leadership Summit. We did it last year. We had how many? 200?
Close to 200.
Close to 200 folks last year, and we're praying for over 500 this year. But that's here on campus, 8th and 9th. You can go out to our website. You can buy a ticket there. World-class leaders. It's a simulcast. Just a fantastic opportunity. And then also in the leadership piece, we are working to form some marketplace ministries. A lot of people, men and women, are out there in the marketplace every week, week in and week out, working 50, 60, 70 hours, and they're going, man, I don't have anything left in the tank. Well, you can use those 50, 60, 70 hours for Jesus. So we're forming some marketplace groups to help people minister in the marketplace. So that's just a little bit. If you gave me 10 more minutes, I could keep going, Matt, but I know we're on a time limit.
Well, Kaylee and I are beneficiaries of Marriage Prep. Yep. We did it over 9 years ago, before we were even engaged.
Same
here.
Same. Yeah.
2010 for me.
So excited for that to come back, and what an opportunity to just fill a need for people at different stages, really pivotal stages of their life. When you're talking about the beginning of marriage, end of marriage, everything in between. So, yeah, thanks for that. All right, Lauren. So, talk a little bit about the care area. What are some updates, and what are some exciting things you want to share?
So membership interviews are happening. So Thank you. I know some of you on the stage are helping with those, so grateful for that. Thank you for everyone's patience as well. This has been a journey. This is a brand new system, structure, process for us. We have a brand new person who is helping us data track everything to make sure no one is falling through the cracks. So just grateful for everyone's patience as we navigate over 300 people through a new process to make sure everyone is cared for well and is assigned a person of care after the membership interview takes place. So grateful for everyone's patience through that. If you haven't had someone reach out to you, they will reach out to you. Just give them some time. I know, Pastor Derwin, you're working on your list here very soon.
He had a meeting this past week with one of his.
Hey,
Yes, I
good
did.
job.
Yes,
Way
I
to
did.
go.
Yes,
Told
I
him to put
did.
the notes in.
I haven't put my notes in yet, but I have been connecting.
See, progress.
But it's been
It's
great
great.
though, like to be able to connect with people one-on-one and
Yes.
have your person of care check in with you just when you're going through life. Like
Yeah.
it's really been great to have.
It's amazing to hear the stories come out of these membership interviews, and then just reading some of the notes from the point of care touch points that are occurring. I will say the women are much better note takers than the men, so maybe y'all can help me out with
We
that.
finish strong. We will finish strong. Don't worry about that.
But it's just been really cool, the stories. I was talking to your mother-in-law actually this past weekend on breaking down the wall in this membership interview of, do I really want to tell you what's going on in my life? And then just by the end, like, I want to be connected in this way, in this manner, and this is how Northland can help care for me.
Yeah.
It's really significant and really powerful. So grateful for that.
Awesome.
And we have more membership opportunities coming this year. I know our Connect team is working on a Go at Your Own Pace membership class online this summer. So hopefully more information coming soon regarding that. And then we'll have 2 more in-person membership classes this fall, one in September and one in November. So if you haven't taken a class yet, we'd love for you to participate in these 2 gatherings. The September one is a Saturday morning, and then the November one is a Sunday night, and we will feed you. So a lot of fun.
That's awesome. So since this process is new, can you talk a little bit more about, you go through the membership class.
Yep.
What does that, membership interview look like then? And then what does
Yes.
the person of care look like? And
Absolutely.
what's the goal of that person of care?
So you'll go through the Made for Mission membership class led by Pastor Josh and Tom and Bradley. And then afterwards, you can notate that you would like to become a member if you're ready. And the goal of the interview after the class is to get to know you, get to know how we can care for you. And really, who is the best person that we could offer you to be your person of care that will do that monthly check-in to check in on you individually and on your family. So that is how it'll all be connected. So the person of care will do a monthly check-in, whether that be a text message or a phone call or an annual sit-down, just to make sure you're being cared for well spiritually. Are you in some type of life group? Are you connected to various ministries that you desire? So that's how it's kind of all being connected together.
Yeah, that's great. It's really, it's a structure that allows us to make a large church feel a lot more personal.
Absolutely.
Without structure, it's nearly impossible to do that.
Yes.
Well, the biblical warrant is actually in Hebrews 13, where it talks about giving oversight to your soul. Is that if we really do, because again, it's not about generating more people coming. We want to reach as many people as the Lord would give us, neighbors and nations. But when we do reach, or when people do come and they're looking for a church, then part of our responsibility as a church and as leaders is to give oversight to their soul. And when it comes to the church, we know what God has commanded us to do. We are commanded to participate in His mission. And we do that by connecting with the Lord and others, cultivating disciples and leaders, caring for people and resources, and being commissioned to neighbors and nations. And so part of the oversight is, how are you doing as you are fulfilling what God has called you to do? And it is to make a larger church feel small. But even if we were running 50, we would want, because here's what I know, because I think many of us, we've been part of smaller churches at some point in our life. Is they don't even do it. You just show up and you leave. And people might know you, but do they know you? Have they ever sat down and hey, how are you? How are you and Jesus doing?
Really?
How can I care for you well? I'm telling you, I been in a small church. We didn't ask that. And being able to do that here, it shows the seriousness by which we believe that the Bible says that we are the oikos, or the household of God, that we want to give you a point of care. That, so even in a church running a couple of thousand, that you would get a text message every month that just says, I'm praying for you. If you need anything, holler. Like that's and hopefully in other play, if they're involved in a small group or if their kid is involved, like they're getting multiple points of contact, but they actually have a point of care. And so that is a way that we oversee the soul, that we treat each other as a household member of the family of God. And that's what I'm excited about. And it is a structure. And so, like, I was talking to somebody the other day, he's like, I had to input stuff. I'm like, but I want you to understand, like, it's not about you begrudgingly having to input stuff, but we are now being aware of now we would have it. I mean, just think about it. If we, grew as far as membership to 3,000, now we have a central database where we now know and we can track what God's done with that individual for a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and we can chart their growth. Like I think we get so narrow, kind of like nearsighted and so narrow-minded. And that a lot of times we begrudgingly do things, but we forget of if we were able to do it and we did it consistently and we didn't give up, what wealth of knowledge we could have to chart the growth of a person. And that's what I'm excited about with care.
Awesome.
And these points of care are leaders, whether that be elders or deacons or staff members that are stepping into this role to help care for others.
Great.
So there's vetting processes and trainings to go along with that, and even more training specifically coming soon for points of care on how can we better serve various situations or family dynamics or things like that. So that's coming.
Great.
Yeah.
So I asked you a question. Is that all you had, or did you have anything?
I can keep going.
Anything else?
Just kidding. I can share a couple more things.
Okay, great.
This year we celebrated doubling our deacon team already, which has been amazing. So grateful for that. And looking to continue to grow that team this fall. So we're in the process of nominating more leaders right now to go through a vetting process and become deacons. So working on that class this fall with Tom and Gus's help. Grateful for them. And then just looking for more towel holders in very specific key areas. So really looking forward to step up to serve things like helping with funerals, helping with hospital visitations. Just need some boots on the ground, folks that have flexible schedules and are available to sit down for, maybe an hour a week in various capacities. So looking for those roles.
Yeah. Great. So I think we have time for one more question, and I'll throw it out to everybody. I'd love for at least a couple of us to answer this. So how has God been working to transform you personally in these last months, years? I think working on staff, working in ministry, that will happen. I think in a transition, it's even more intense for multiple ways. So I'm just curious if you guys would want to share how God's been working on you.
Yeah, I'll start with that. And I did say I was going to give the date of the Above and Beyond, the final collection date. It's June 30th. So it's in our one service weekend. Okay. So yes.
So the last weekend of June.
Yes.
Okay.
So for myself, I've struggled a lot with this in ministry because I'm and I remember a pastor saying to me when I was leaving a church and going to a ministry, he said, do you feel like you're going to be fulfilled doing what you're going to be doing? And I said, I hope so. I believe I am, because I do have, I'm one of these people that's not an expert on anything, but I'm kind of your miscellaneous guy, different areas. There sometimes can be this struggle of where do I fit and do I fit and should I be doing this or doing that? And so, but what I've realized is that's just a unique way that God has gifted me. And it is a beautiful thing once you can embrace it, to embrace it and say, okay, I can serve here, I can serve there, I can serve there, I can do this. And so I think I would probably even say 5 years, God has really been getting my mind and my spirit around the fact that you are you are uniquely, wonderfully made. I crafted you like this, and it is for the good of the kingdom.
Amen.
Don't shy away from being the all things to all people guy. It's okay, because I made you like that. So it's been beautiful to be able to sit in it and just say, okay, God, this is how you made me, and this is how you want to use me. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's happened just in the last 5 years.
I'd say the last 5 years, yeah. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yes.
I think
Thank
for
you
me,
sharing.
it's almost been a year where I've been starting to dive into more soul care for myself, which has been really important as I sit with hard stories and people that are going through a lot and making sure I'm getting cared for myself. It's been really powerful, and I'm grateful for that. I'm a part of a cohort of sorts where I'll be doing 6 retreats over this calendar year, 24 hours away, which is hard as a mom, but also awesome. It's hard to sit in the silence. I have one coming up in a couple weeks, and this one will be about silence and solitude. So really eager to learn more. I know it will be uncomfortable, but kind of looking forward to that as well as I grow deeper in that.
Wonderful. Yeah.
So I'm the staff rookie, even though I'm one of the oldest people on this stage. But I've
No,
been
you're not one of the oldest. No, you're not the oldest.
the oldest.
You're not. Okay, I take that back.
I was
take
not
that.
trying to
I was
call my
trying to
brother
dig.
out.
I was trying to dig. I was trying to dig, and yes, my brother from another mother is the
Yes,
oldest.
there you
Yes.
go.
All right.
There you go.
I'm glad we pointed that out 2 different times.
Yes.
3 strikes.
So I've been in the workplace for 35 years, almost last 2 years here as a staff member. So career-wise, the first half was corporate America, playing all kind of roles in that, Fortune 100 companies, and then another 10, 15 years of working for myself. So I'm coming up in October on my second anniversary here on staff. I've been part of Northland for 26 years, so it's at a different way. 24 years I was sitting out in the blue chairs and participating as a congregant, and now I'm on the inside. And I'll just say it's the hardest, easiest thing I've ever done.
Oh. What do you mean by that?
Hard, I knew you would ask that question. That's a great, so from the hard, most people don't realize the ups and the downs of ministry. Ministry is and can be crushing. We can be in a meeting talking about one thing, and someone's checking a text and somebody died, someone's sick, something happened, and you talk about having to pivot and then balance all these priorities. I mean, we all start on Mondays with our to-do list, and by about 1 o'clock on Monday, it's like, what did I do that for? Just because there are urgencies and there are priorities, and when it comes to ministry, it's people. It's not just tasks, it's people. So, another part of the hard thing, is, my weekends are now called Friday. I used to enjoy a weekend because that's what you do. But when you're in ministry, we get, it's Friday. Friday is our weekend. But it's the easiest in that, when you can see the impact of what God's doing through our ministry here in the lives of, in my case, and some of our students and kids, our families, even, and we all have stories, even some of our fellow staff members, how God is moving, God is intervening, God is transforming, He's saving. That's the easiest part, because we get to come alongside King Jesus, who's doing the hard stuff, who has already done that hard stuff. So that's why I say it's the hardest, easiest thing I've ever done.
It's great.
I'll wait for you.
Oh, you're going to wait for me. All right. Well, I'm kind of in a unique spot. I've been in HR. I've been in the messy middle for about 15, 20 years now. And I've always kind of dealt with people. But over these last 3 or 4 years, the Lord's definitely brought me closer to Him. But it's been this unique way of, I've always served others. I've always been in this position of mediating and serving with others. But now I find myself, not to be cliche, but how would Jesus walk through this? Trying to walk through compassionately, but still holding people accountable. That's the other difficult part as a leader in any kind of capacity, is to hold people accountable, but also do it in a loving and caring way, and recognizing again that people are this is not just a job for any of us on this up here or any of our staff. It's not just a job for us, and we're giving our all into it. So I've learned to pause a lot more, to pray a lot more, and to step back and think, where is this person coming from and how can I love them through this, whether it's a messy situation or a wonderful situation, and he's always provided. It's just when you're in that messy middle, sometimes it's hard to see past the mess, but he's teaching me a lot of, trust on me, lean on me, and we'll get you through it. So, yeah.
It's great.
So one of the question, transform you personally. So this is a good question for me because one of the unavoidable position I find myself, you always have to be a leader, whether it's in my family and now at this church for 20 some years. They're saying I've been here a long time. Yes, I have. So being a leader is always with its challenge. And I think the last 4 years brought me to the place where I am still in that transition that what do leaders do to lead well? And I think during the transition, and now especially the last 2.5 years and couple of months now we're going, is leaders are to be learners. So really what has this done for me in the last 2 years is more learning. Because if you're a leader, you lead to live your life, but if you are not learning. So that has really been the exciting part because I can't run away from this hard part of always being front and center as a leader. I try to avoid it, but God said not yet. So learning has really been the challenge that I have embraced. And what does that mean? Reading books as senior leadership, and we're discussing Bible, business book, and that has been very transformative. So I do that in 3 different areas, Monday and Tuesday. As a senior leadership, then when we gather as executive leaders, then when I gather together as our mission team. So learning has really been the most exciting and the challenge I embrace. Why learning? Because it is changing me, for my family, my wife. My wife said the other day, I thought you only studied for the transition, but you've been studying more for two more years. I said, until I go meet King Jesus.
Right.
Yes.
Amen.
Well, that's challenging, Gus, because not to put you on the spot. How old are you?
I will be 73 days after your birthday.
Oh, really? I'll just.
He's
Okay,
going.
so 3 days after now. Okay.
He's the 3rd of August. I'm the 6th of August.
No more age questions.
3 strikes and you're out.
3 strikes and you're on.
Don't worry.
No more age questions.
Says the HR person.
I have to.
So, but it is, I hope that would challenge anyone, that you're never too old to learn.
Correct.
Amen.
And that you are constantly, learning. And, for me, I probably have more gray. I definitely looked at it in the mirror because I haven't shaved in a while. And I'm like, man, there's so many gray hairs like over here on the side. I mean, is that Northland or is that Caleb Ellie?
It's
Yes.
over 40.
Yes.
Over 40.
Yes.
What is that?
All of it.
Yes, and yes.
So I always go because y'all spend a lot of time with me, and so you can see, not that sometimes my mood swings sometimes, just because ministry, to Tom's point, it is crushing to live with it, really daily, knowing that like dozens of people in some sense rely on you. Again, that not that you're Lord, that you're the Lord, but you have a lot of people relying on you. You have an entire church looking at you, but then also facing all of the challenges that we have and are constantly facing. And so, I knew that it was going to be, in some sense, the tasks of all tasks, and for me, just going, God is just, and I just reduce it all the way down to God has just called me to be faithful.
Yeah.
God has just called me to be faithful, and it's tough. Like it is tough, like living in that faithfulness, because there's times where you want to be impatient. There's times where you want to force things. There's times where you're just completely overwhelmed. Like, do I want to go sell ice cream today? Like this would be really, really good. But just knowing why you do what you do, who has called you, and that He's going to empower you. And so just really being shaped more and more into this belief that I've had now for years, is that God has called me to be faithful. Now, that doesn't mean that he's called me to be dormant. See, faith is active. So that's why I like this idea of learning. So I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly writing. I'm talking about, like, I'm constantly thinking, so my faith isn't dormant. And that's part of this, like, faithfulness is the pursuit of Jesus in all areas. So that's why, like, when Marie's talking about, well, what does it really look like to lead like Jesus here, of truth and grace?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people just think that the church and staff mean you ought to just lead with a bunch of grace with no truth. No, that hey, if you're going to lead like Jesus, I mean, just think about it. Like, so yeah, he would rebuke his disciples, "Oh, ye of little faith." Like, how long do I have, and so he's going to correct them. And there's so many things about leading and being faithful to Jesus in church leadership and even leadership in general. And so I hope and pray that, 2 years and 2 months into it, that I really do look more like Jesus. That doesn't mean that I'm perfect, but I'm going to look more like Jesus. And for me as the senior pastor, is that the staff that I have the privilege of leading and partnering with, they actually look more like Jesus. And then the church, that's really the ultimate test of the faithfulness.
Amen.
Am I being faithful to the point where people around me, they're actually looking more like Jesus?
Yep. Amen.
And that's a tall order. That only can be done in the power of the Spirit.
So I'll answer my question, and after that we will wrap up. So for me, these last couple years have been really, really transformative. One of the reasons is doing extra takes, honestly, every week. It is forcing me to go deeper into the scriptures, into the sermon every single week. And paired with the studies that I'm doing, my seminary courses, it's so great when people ask me, what are you going to do with that degree? And I get to say it's a bit unusual. I'm actually putting it into practice, like daily, like weekly, like things that I'm writing a paper on that week. Like, we're talking about an extra takes on Monday, or we're talking about in a meeting on Tuesday, or I'm talking with a towel holder on Wednesday. Like, it's been really incredible to see how the classes that I've been taking have really overlapped with some sermons, some conversations that you could just see God's hand was all over it. So I've been kind of taking notes of that and trying to enjoy the process. Right? It's not just about finishing, but it's about the process. And obviously that's what we can tell ourselves with this transition too. Let's not just like rush through to the end, because there is joy. There is joy in the faithfulness. And the impossibility, that's another thing that I've been kind of dwelling on, is there's been some monumental tasks that I feel we all kind of feel, and just really leaning into, God, this is impossible without you, right? So I'm not going to try to take it on as much as I can. I'm gonna push back from trying to keep grabbing it. I can let it go. I don't want to keep grabbing it, and just be faithful for the day, right? And let him work out the fruit, right? Not worry about the fruit, but worry about the faithfulness, and the fruit will come. And sometimes it comes in ways we expect, and other times it comes in ways we would never, ever imagine. And that's why he's the creator, and we are the created. So this has been a wonderful conversation. Appreciate all of you, the authenticity. I think hopefully this was helpful for all of you. Really, I get this sense that I hope, if nothing else, this gives you a greater appreciation of where we are, where we come from, and a greater understanding of how you can be praying for us as a body of believers, of where we are and where God wants to take us.
Amen. Well, thank you again. It has been a joy, like just to hear all of your takes of where we are, and I didn't mean takes in terms of a pun way, but nevertheless. But love y'all. It's a joy to do ministry and to partner with you all in gospel ministry and church. Like God has and is and we do believe will continue to do greater things, and we are just going to trust him for it. So with that, blessings, and have a wonderful day.
Thanks for listening to Extra Takes. Be sure to follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts so you won't miss a single episode.